And this is BBC Asks. Do women belong on the front lines of the military? Do they belong on the police force? These questions and more were being discussed on the campus of a Texas university between controversial right-wing talking head Steven Crowder and a young female college student. Now, Steven is very well known for his razor-sharp debate tactics and oftentimes outlandishly offensive takes on politics, race, and government regulation. This topic is a touchy one, so let's see how these two get along.
Sports are sort of allegorical, analogous for war, right? In a lot of ways. It's a way of sort of competing without killing each other. So take wrestling, where we know it's not even remotely competitive. Now apply killing. We need the most effective fighting force possible. Just like I wouldn't send out a woman, for example, to wrestle Cale Sanderson. I wouldn't send a woman who can't do a pull-up, and that's the majority of female recruits in the military. I would not send her out to war. She doesn't lose a match. She loses her life, and so does the guy next to her relying on her. I think it's important, more important than diversity.
Again, I'm going to bring it back to the standard point. I think that's an issue with the standards we have in the military, in the police force. I think the standards aren't high enough.
I agree.
We can argue there is a biological difference, but again, you're also talking about people have guns, they have a lot of technological advancements. Today's military, technologically, is off the charts. Like, it is crazy how much money we put into the military every single day.
Fun fact. The U.S. military spent over $750 billion from September of last year to October of this year.
Don't let the price determine what you do.
$14.7 billion of that was on science and technology, and $210 billion of that was spent on weapons development.
I actually agree with the statement you just made. I think it's very important. Where you said, for example, guns, advancement, let's just say in firearms. That does equalize the playing field, right, in a lot of ways. For the same reason I support women being able to carry firearms, and I actually support them carrying firearms because it's the only way to be stronger than a man. It's a mechanical advantage. Yes, we have advances in firearms. It's still the only way that a woman can overpower a strong man. Flip side of that coin, the police force, a woman will have to use a firearm. She'll have to use a weapon because she can't physically subdue a man. And that, I don't believe, is something where you talk about de-escalation. If you have to go to your tool belt because you cannot physically restrain a 250-pound man on PCP,
but do you
that's not a good
always
thing.
have to? Because I'm saying between men and women, I'm saying in the police force in general, I don't remember the exact number, so I can't really quote on this, but I know for a fact that there is not enough training on de-escalation. Like, they barely do any training on it at all.
Another fun fact. Out of the 50 states in America, only 21 require de-escalation training of its police officers. And this is after the Black Lives Matter debacle and the siege on America's Capitol.
What kind of shit is that?
I agree with you, they should train that robustly.
Okay, I agree that you're saying men and women, women are physically smaller, we are biologically different. But I'm saying in general, you can't put the whole argument on just women rather than putting it on a structural problem.
Right, and I believe the structural problem is because of the matriarchy and the problem with feminism trying to lower standards to accommodate women.
But can't you say it's also sexism because it's the idea that, I was saying before, you were talking about in the military how a lot of it is, there's a lot of things given to women, and it's we're talking about, for example, mental health, for example, now we were saying that,
women are more likely to PTSD, be discharged.
But it's also because men aren't treated as seriously for it, because it's
That could be true. It's an inference, but I think your inference might be correct.
Yes. That could also be, instead of saying because of feminists, it could also be because of sexism.
Towards men? You may be correct on that. I think it's probably a little column A, a little of column B. I think we have quite a lot of data that shows that men tend to perform better under high compression stress scenarios than women in general. There are always exceptions to the rule. And it tends to be more traumatic for women. And then especially when you combine, being on the receiving end of a traumatic injury in the military. Same thing in the police force. But you mentioned de-escalation. You wrestle. So you have some understanding of, I would say, controlling or subduing the human body, right? That's what all grappling arts are, whether it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, judo. I do believe that should be trained in the police force so that you don't have to use a weapon. I think that we need higher standards, as a matter of fact. I think every member of the police should have basic grappling capabilities so that they don't have to, for example, grab their gun or grab their taser. Now, de-escalation. I agree with you, that's very important. Here's what I would argue is the reality of de-escalation. You can only de-escalate if you have the nuclear option. What do I mean? You can't de-escalate with a large, strong, likely inebriated man who doesn't want to go back to prison if he sees a small, weak woman trying to de-escalate. He knows that he has a trump card and he can attack you. Statistically, it happens a lot. De-escalation can only take place with formidable capability. And women don't have that physically. As a general rule, not all women, and certainly most of the women in our police force today.
Well, this was surprisingly civil. Now, obviously, Steven came prepared. It is his show, of course. But what do you think about the points both of them were making? Does any of this relate to Taiwanese culture? Now, This was just half of this conversation, and these two get even deeper into it. If you'd like to see more of this, leave a comment down below, and we'll put out another episode. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace!